It is your boys, the Brevity Boys. We're joining you on this fantastic wild card weekend, Big Z. It was finally here, the
Wild.
NFL playoffs. They got wild, Big Z. They got wild this weekend, man.
It was kind of wild, but also kind of a bummer. It was kind of like
Yeah.
anticlimactic in a way.
Yeah.
It besides the last game was a wild finish, a doink,
Yes.
as they'd say,
A
uh,
doink. A
a
doinkaroonie.
doink.
A
Yeah, but
doinkaroonie.
other than that, it was just some wild blowouts. Kind
It,
of.
wa- I mean, it wasn't great, man. It
It
really
wasn't
wasn't
great.
great.
But I'm sure the ratings will say otherwise.
Right.
But it just wasn't. It was surprising. I thought there'd be some closer games, but you know what? That's all right. That's how it is.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It
100%.
was good though. It's still fun to watch. I'm so glad the playoffs are here. And glad that we were able to watch some football this weekend.
I
So
mean, at the end of the day, it feels like it got here so quickly. I'll
yeah.
give you an example, right? Like you were just starting your journey, right, with like Oliver in Little League, right? And it seems like T-ball, it's here, and then it's gonna take its time, and you're gonna be able to watch and like develop and enjoy it. But I'm telling you right now, Big Z, you're gonna blink and it's over. Like I'm
Oh
watching.
yeah.
So this last weekend we had majors tryouts at the league. We had AAA tryouts, majors tryouts, and I'm watching my son's tryout, and I'm like, what happened to the little cuties that were just hitting the ball off the tee and running the
Yeah.
wrong direction?
Right.
Like, what? Where did those kids go? Because all of a sudden now they're catching fly balls launched out of a machine, like 80 foot
Like Cody B.
high. Like Jaden is at the plate and he's like with his friends and they're hanging out, they're having a good time, and they're like, these pitches are too slow. And I'm like, dude, the machine's throwing 50. Like, like,
Right.
and they're
Yeah.
like loading their legs super early. Like, Dad, this is way too slow. Like, this is not cool. This is way too slow. I'm like, well, geez, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't, you know what? But it's insane to watch, like just how
Right.
quickly like you blink and it's gone. And that's like the
Yeah,
NFL
man.
season, dude. Like it feels like last week we were talking about Brevity Sports, our fantasy league. Here it comes, week one.
Yep.
What's everybody gonna be? How's everybody gonna end up? And now here we are. We're in the wild card playoffs, Big Z, and everybody's
Yeah.
getting blown out. It's like literally what's in the water? Because we talked about it with the college football playoffs. It's the same freaking thing.
Yeah.
Like you get the
I
best
know.
teams playing each other, and they're like, yeah, so
Right.
my season ended a week ago. We made it, and I don't want to play football anymore.
We're
Right?
just not going to show up.
Like we're not showing up to this thing,
Like,
man.
sorry, like it was a big tease, and we got you, fans. We made you think that we were going to go all the way to the Super Bowl.
It's
Not this year.
crazy.
Not
It's
this year.
crazy, bro.
I got paid $55 million last year per season. I got the bag. I'm going to throw 3 picks today. No touchdowns.
Three
I'm good.
picks, no tutties. Who are you talking about, Big Z? Did somebody do that? Wait. Did somebody do? Somebody's listening to this, and they're like,
Jordan Love.
three picks. Oh, Jordan Love.
Jordan Love.
Oh boy, I thought
Supposedly
he
one of
was.
the best quarterbacks in the league.
If I'm not
Top paid
mistaken,
money.
240
Yeah.
million, 240 million, right? That's a lot of picks
Yeah.
for 240 million.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound
that's a
right. Are you
lot.
sure? Should we fact check that? Because
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
I don't know, man.
Let's
That
see.
seems.
Let's go share a screen right now. Let's just
Let's
go.
go take a look, just so the people know that we're not exaggerating, because
Yeah.
that seems like a really high number, right? I mean,
Let's see
that
here.
seems like it can't be right.
Jordan Love, 20 at 33, 212 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a rating of 41.5.
What? I mean,
Just
that's crazy.
that's your
That's
franchise QB.
crazy. That's your guy. That's the one.
That's
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 the
that's the
one.
guy
That's
that
the one.
everyone is in love with. Yeah, there he is. Good
That
luck.
that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. It seems like he was supposed to be the next Hall of Fame quarterback.
He was,
I mean, this is the guy that everybody crowned.
right?
I mean, I don't get
Another
it. I don't get it.
another
I
big
don't.
tough guy,
Ugh.
athletic, has a great arm. Yeah,
It's
it's great. It's funny.
it doesn't make any sense to me, man. But let's start off. Let's go in order, right? So some people
Yeah, let's
watching
do it.
college, some NFL this weekend, right? And here we go. The Chargers. I mean, look, if you're a Charger fan,
Yeah,
I want to tell you right now, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Let me start right now. Like, I think when you describe certain things, it could come off as like slightly disrespectful. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to do is just acknowledge that your quarterback, who is supposed to be this dude, and I'm not saying there wasn't some ugly drops. There's some ugly drops this game. Like, let's get that out of the way right now. But he goes 242,
Right.
one touchdown, and four interceptions. I mean, this is the guy, right? This is Justin
Yeah.
Herbert. This is the guy that for years now we've had to listen to the constant conversation that he's in a league with Joe Burrow and
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, right? Josh Allen. Like this is
Right.
this is that guy. He's on par with them. And Big Z, I got to tell you, the Texans did not look that good. Like
Right.
if you're a Charger fan, this has to be the toughest pill to swallow. It's like earlier we were talking about baseball, right? The Dodgers play the Padres. This is hard to admit as Dodger fans, but this year specifically with the injuries, when you take all that into consideration, the
Yeah.
Padres were a better team from top to bottom,
Mm-hmm.
pitching staff and all, than the Dodgers, right? The
Yep.
Dodgers went into that series with two starting pitchers, right? And the Chargers, to me, felt like, man, this is sort of your moment, right? You're playing this Texans team. Stroud doesn't look good, right?
Right.
Joe Mixon has come back down to earth. The offensive line for the Texans has been taxed. They don't look very good at all. They do have a good defense, but this is sort of your moment to get in and get a W. Like you couldn't ask for a better matchup. To me, Big Z, they completely choked. They completely
Well,
chargered. This
they
was
charged
crazy.
it. It's the verb. The verb continues to live on. Like you have to at some point you have to destroy that verb. But it's going to stick with you until you actually prove everyone wrong, because that was the definition of charging. You had the easiest, I think the easiest of the matchups in the whole AFC. Like I think the Broncos probably play the Chargers tougher than the Texans would have played the Chargers, right? Because they're a divisional rival, right? So people would say, well, the Bills blew out the Broncos. Yeah, but the Broncos know the Chargers. So I think out of all of your opponents in the AFC,
Yeah.
the Texans, like you said, they came into this playoff hunt limping. Their offensive
Yeah.
line is nothing right now. Joe Mixon, like you said, has come back to earth. CJ Stroud has no confidence. And you literally gave them life. You kept
Right.
throwing the ball away. You threw away a win, and you gave it everything, all the momentum back to this team who were just so they just needed so much momentum on their side, and they could not get it in these last 5 games of the season. And you just gave it every single inch that you had, and you gave it to them. And they had the home crowd behind them. I don't even think that home crowd at the beginning of the game thought that the Texans were going to win.
No,
And
they
with
didn't.
every
They didn't.
single interception that you threw, Herbert, you just breathed life into that team. And then the fans got behind him, and then it was just done. Like you could just tell it was done. Like even when they scored the 86-yard touchdown to McConkey, the Texans blocked the extra point. The place kicker sees the ball go up, and he just hits the ball down thinking it's a dead ball. It's not. And the Texans pick it up and they score, and it's 2 points. It's like, even when you score a touchdown, you can't win. Like you only got plus 4 points on that play instead of a +7. It's just the definition of charging. And now you have to talk about Herbert in the conversation. Like, is he the guy? Is he truly a franchise quarterback? Last night, Colin Cowherd, he does his reactions after all these big playoff games,
Right.
and he was giving Justin Herbert a pass, saying that he is a young quarterback. He was playing on the road, and I'm like, this guy's in his 6th season. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
If Brock Purdy had done that, it would have been a whole different demeanor
Well,
from
to be
Colin
fair,
Cowherd.
it would have started off with his hat was backwards, right? Like even if he didn't wear a hat, Colin would have been like, his hat's
Right.
backwards. And there's a problem. Let's start right there. Look,
Yep.
at some point, I like Justin Herbert. I've been
We
very
love
vocal.
him, but you
I
gotta
like Justin.
show up.
At some point, you got to start to hold the guy accountable. I will say, I mean, look, you let Keenan Allen go, right? Which was a mistake. I think we can all see out of this product, it was a mistake to let him go. Lad McConkey balled, right? Lad McConkey was incredible. 9 receptions, 197 yards. He balled. Like he did his thing. They didn't have any other weapons. J.K. Dobbins couldn't get it going. Gus Edwards couldn't get it going. I mean, nothing else was working at
They
all.
signed Ezekiel Elliott, and they didn't even play him. Like,
It's just
what was that?
nothing else
Yeah.
worked
Yeah.
for this team, and that's the problem, right? Like
Yeah.
they've got to get a few. If you are going to make an excuse for Justin Herbert, I don't want to hear anything about his age because he's been in this league long enough. Okay, if you are going to do it, make it about his weapons because you had Lad and then no one else, right? Having said that, here's what killed them to me. To me, I knew the Chargers were going to lose in the first quarter, and
Yep.
I'll tell you how I knew. They went down to the red zone and they kicked 2 field goals.
Yep.
This is the
Gotta score
playoffs.
touchdowns.
You cannot kick field goals in the playoffs. Ask the Rams. Last year, they go into Detroit. They give Detroit everything they can handle. How did we know they were going to lose that game, Big Z? They kicked field goals,
Yep.
right?
Field
We
goals. Yep.
saw it. They were kicking
Right.
field goals. That was the difference between them and the Lions last year. Same thing,
Especially on the road. Like when you're in the red zone, you have to score touchdowns when you're on the road. You have to take the crowd out of it. Touchdowns take the crowd out of it. Field goals is like, oh, we got life. You breathe, you keep breathing life, giving us a chance.
Yep.
And that is exactly what they did.
You played against a Texans team that couldn't do anything in the first 2 quarters.
No.
They looked awful,
Yep.
right? You went into half and you should have been up 14 to probably 7, right? But somehow you're losing 6-10. And to me, the game was over, right? CJ Stroud, you're giving him way too much life. He ends up going off for 282, 1 touchdown. He did have the ugly interception. But again, when you're giving a talented team, every team in the playoff is talented, right? Every team.
Yep.
We can say this is an easy matchup. This is a hard matchup. We can say all that stuff. Every team is talented, right? And what you have to do is you have to go in and you have to take it to these teams. You got to come in and say, no, I'm going to win this game.
Yep.
Right? Yep. I'm taking this game, right? You're not giving it to me. I'm taking it. And that's the Chargers don't have that. And it was very evident in this game. It was awful. It was awful, Big Z. And if you're a Charger fan, I don't know what you do. I don't know if there's a quick fix. I think Harbaugh is still a great hire. Obviously, you made the playoffs. You're able to have this great season, 11-6. That's fantastic. I'm not taking anything away from that. The building blocks are here. Having said that, you've clearly got to get another weapon here, Big Z. You got to get another weapon.
Yeah,
and
you've got to get Harbaugh drafts well. It was a good turnaround. +6 wins this year from last year. But you got to go get another offensive weapon. I think they figured out on defense. Like yesterday was just, that happens, right?
Right.
But yeah, you go in the draft, you get a guy that you can, add on the side of Lad McConkey,
right,
and you'll be okay. Yeah, they'll be okay.
What's really funny to me about this game is the fact that Justin Herbert, all I've seen is pass after pass after pass after pass, right? Like, it was just a bad game, and you got to get him some help, and yet everybody is pooping on a guy who had a far better game than he did. In Russell Wilson, they did get dominated by the Ravens, but Russell Wilson throws 270 and 2 touchdowns. And everyone, right? The dangerous Russ, the danger Russ is like all over the internet, and this guy's trash and da-da-da-da. He had a better playoff game than Justin Herbert against a better team. Against a far better team, right? The Ravens do roll. They win 28-14. The only points the Steelers got obviously was in the third quarter, right? 100%. We know that. Having said that, again, you have a receiver in Pickens who's extremely talented, but God, who knows where this kid's head is at this point? I mean, he's somebody's got to be.
I mean, when I knew that they were going to lose that game, I mean, it was pretty evident when the Ravens called 15 straight running plays. But that we'll talk about that game plan in a second. But I knew that they were for sure going to lose that game when Pickens got called for the offensive pass interference. Like Russ threw a dime to him. And I don't know why Pickens just decided to look down at his defender and just push up. Like you could see it live on TV in real time. I was like, oh, that's offensive pass interference.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like there was no question. Like people were complaining about it. I was like, there's no question that's offensive pass interference. And he didn't have to do that. It was right in the basket case right there. Russ threw a dime to him and he ruined it. Right. And so you negate that. It's 15 yards. And you start all over again. And you got to get rid of Pickens. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can be successful as a team on offense with Pickens. Najee Harris just looks tired. I think that Arthur Smith, again, we talked about last week, he's run this guy into the ground. There is no elusive offense. They're not using Jaylen Warren enough. And like you said, I think that Russell Wilson, out of this whole team on offense, Russell Wilson was the guy that you probably want to keep around because he played a pretty good game.
Thank you. And say it for the back, like the people in the back. Like, I don't understand the hate that Russell Wilson is getting. Like, I'm gonna talk to
Yeah.
Jason the Showman Strowman tomorrow, and he's gonna give me a full case on why Russell Wilson is no longer an NFL quarterback. And I gotta say, Big Z, as of right now, like, I'm not here for it. Like, he
Right.
was the one bright side, right? And again, we talked about it. Najee Harris, right? Like, he is 1,000-yard rusher the last 4 years. That's great. That's super great. You've got to
Yeah.
get Jalen Warren more involved so that he can be more fresh, right? Najee can be more fresh for the playoffs, right?
It's a very
You gotta
it's a very
figure it out.
one-dimensional offense.
You
Like you
gotta
know what's
figure it
coming.
out.
You know what's coming. It's 2 runs in a row
And
at
by the
first
way,
down.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
read this. It's kind of cut off a little bit, but like, your boy, flex the muscles today. I got out. It was Jaden's birthday. We had some flag football fun.
Nice.
I was running some routes. I was getting some dimes. You know what I mean? I'm happy to
Heck yeah,
say
dude.
I would have caught the balls that Pickens dropped. I'm just throwing it out there. It's just a matter of fact. I would have caught them. You can ask anybody at the
All
party.
right.
I was catching them all over
All
these
right.
10-year-olds. All right. And I didn't
That's
even
right, baby.
I didn't commit offensive pass interference. I just mossed them, dude. Just broke their little hearts. Listen,
Just
at the end of the
mossed.
day, the Steelers have so many things to figure out. And
Yeah.
it's so evident. When you look at the Steelers,
Yeah.
okay, you have a receiver who's unhappy. And he doesn't even wait to talk about it. I mean, after the game, they're like, "Hey, dude, how do you feel about this?" And he's like, "Yeah, we've grown as an offense, but I don't see a whole lot of hope." Right? Like, at least wait a few weeks,
Yeah.
right? At least give the courtesy of like, "Hey, dude, we had a great season. We made the playoffs. We're in one of the toughest divisions in football." It didn't seem that way at the beginning, but the Bengals were coming on strong. The Ravens are obviously a powerhouse. It's been a battle. It's been a grind. Give people their respect. Instead, you're like, "Yeah, I don't know if I believe in his organization." Like 2 minutes after losing the game, that's a little bit insane, right? That's
Yeah.
a little bit
You don't want
crazy.
that.
You don't want that. You got to figure this out, but let's give them their flowers. Shout outs to the Ravens. We asked it of you over and over and
Yep.
over and over and over and over. It's all you heard this offseason. Why do you run so well during the regular season and
Yep.
then not run at all come the playoffs? And the Ravens are like, "Dude, you want to see us run the ball?
Yeah.
We going to run the ball 50 times. We are going to run the ball 50 times, and we're going to run with 5 different individuals.
Yeah.
Just watch out. Here we go. We're going to run this ball down your throat. There's not a freaking thing you could do about it." If I told you, Big Z, I'm going to ask you a question. If I told you before this game, I said, "Hey, Big Z, guess what? The Steelers held Lamar Jackson to 175 yards." What would you tell me?
The Ravens are gonna win
Yeah,
because that means he wasn't throwing.
because exactly, dude. That's
Like,
exactly right. If he throws for 300 yards, they probably lose. They probably lost the game.
Yep.
But because he threw for 175, no interceptions, they won. Right? This is your game plan moving forward. Lamar does not need to throw for 300 yards. If
And
that
let's make this
happens,
clear. Lamar's still a great quarterback. We're not saying that
fantastic.
he's a terrible quarterback. This is the type of game plan that you need for Lamar to be great. Because when you're running so many times, they're stacking the box against King Henry
Yep.
and Justice Hill, all those guys. But what makes Lamar great is that he can make those off-script throws, right?
Yep.
He can find Likely and Andrews in the corner that no other quarterback can find. He can run with his legs. That's what makes him so elusive and such a great quarterback. So we're not saying that he is not great by any means here. We're just saying like this is the game plan that it makes him successful. It's made him so great through the regular season. That's why he's won his MVP awards.
Yep.
But now we want to see it in the playoffs. And I think finally, if they follow the script, I think the Chiefs are going to have, if they make it to the AFC Championship game, both of them, it's going to be a different result than next year or than last year.
I think if you're the Ravens and you're going into next week, and we'll get into it in a second, but if you're the Ravens, this has to be, you do not want to get in a shootout with the Bills.
No.
This has to be your game plan. You've got
You
to dominate
have to control
just like you
the
did
ball.
with the Steelers. You did amazing. Shout outs to you. Good job. Great win. Just
Great
like
win.
the team you're going to face, the Bills dominate. Now,
Yeah, it was.
early on, they looked a little bit nervous, right? Bo Nix comes out, has a massive, massive touchdown. The Bills looked good. Let me just say, the Bills looked good. I'm not going to take anything away from them. Here's the thing. I watched this game, Big Z.
Yeah.
I would like to challenge the Broncos receivers. You have a rookie quarterback on the road, and I could not believe the amount of dropped passes on key third down situations. I couldn't believe it. Even from his best receiver, Sertan, right? Like that's their cornerback. Sutton. Even from Sutton, right? Who had a fine day, five catches for 75 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the amount of drops, I look, this is gonna sound like I'm giving an excuse. Look, 144, one touchdown, no interceptions. Okay. First of all, the fact that Bo Nix went in there and did not turn over the ball, it matters. Okay. But if you have a rookie quarterback, you have got to make plays. We'll get into it in a second, but look at the Manders, right? Terry McLaurin, dude, if Jaden Daniels put it within 8 feet of that dude, he was like, yeah, I'm coming down with
Yeah.
this rock, right? With a rookie quarterback in the playoffs specifically, during the regular season, you'll get away with it. It's whatever. But in the playoffs, you cannot afford this many dropped passes. They scored, right? They get the ball back. There's a third down situation. Ball goes through Surtain's hands as the Broncos are driving. If they score again, all of a sudden it's 14-3, and this is a completely different outcome. But because you didn't, the Bills are such a good team. You've got to capitalize because the Bills are going to get theirs, and that's what we saw. Josh Allen was like, yo, by the way, I'm probably the MVP.
Yeah.
I'm going for over 300 yards of total offense. I'm that dude. You're not going to stop me. It is what it is. And they dominate 31-7. This thing was over. You blinked, it was done. It looked close, right? Going to the third quarter, it was 10-7. So you're like, oh, this is actually a good game. Third and fourth was not a good game. Shout out to the Bills and Bills Mafia. We're rooting for you. We've been your fan this entire season. We are rooting for you. We are hoping. I think you do have a tough matchup coming up next week, which again we'll get into in a minute. But we're rooting for you, right, Big Z?
Right. Yeah, of course we're rooting for you. I think first off, going back to the Broncos, this is where I think the dead money of Russell Wilson hurts you in types of games like this, right? Like you can manage over a 17-game season. You can manage a team like Sean Payton's done a really good job of getting his team into the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, with Cortland Sutton as your best offensive weapon. Like, and he's like a B at most, right? Like that's how good he is. Like he's a number 2 on a lot of like the best teams in the league.
Thank you.
The fact that you have so much dead money that you owe to Russell Wilson, that just means that you cannot go out and get a superstar, right? What did we see tonight in Terry McLaurin? Like you said, he went out and got it. You got Derrick Henry yesterday just going off, right? Like your superstars came through for you. So at least this year, I think this next season, the Broncos may be in the same boat because they just can't afford to go out and pay another weapon. Right. And so that's where it comes on Bo Nix now. You got to figure it out. Like you got to figure out, you got to grow as a player. This is a great rookie season, but you got to build upon that. You have a great foundation, but you got to figure out how to work with the current set of wide receivers. I think that's where that hurts you. Right?
I think realistically,
other than that, like you can't really expect him to do much more, like you said.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. For me, like success for the Broncos is making the playoffs again. Look, we told you, right, Biggsy? We told everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have a run game. You're not going to win this. And lo and behold, who is the best rusher for the Broncos? Bo Nix, 43 yards.
Right.
Javonte Williams only had 29.
Exactly.
They don't have a running game. Like you said, dude, and thank you, Big Z. Big Z, if you're not listening, Big Z is cooking with gas tonight, okay? He's spitting straight fire. Listen, Cortland Sutton, okay, is a B receiver. Okay, he is not an A receiver. He is not in that echelon.
He's not number 1. Yeah.
He's nowhere near Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb or Puka Nacua. He is not these guys. And we saw it. This game, it was evident. There was passes that Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, all these boys come down with, dude. All these dudes hit him in the hands. They're coming down with it. He didn't have it, and that's why they lost. That plus no run game. It never stood a chance. If you're the Broncos, listen, you just got to get Bo Nix over you got to get him some help. You got to get him some help.
Running back, maybe that could have helped. Like
but you said it,
way cheaper than a wide receiver. Like
but you said it. Unless you draft well.
Yeah, right. I know. It's I just think it's evident, right? You don't have any other superstars on that team. It's like this is what's going to happen if you go into Buffalo. Like we said last week, it's a tough draw to get the Bills, right? Seeding really mattered in this game. But again, let's flip it over to the Bills. Give them their credit. They did what they're supposed to do. They handled business. Josh Allen looked like, one of the greats in the league. James Cook went off. They had everything working for them. And again, we are definitely rooting, Bills Mafia. You've been through it.
Don't you feel like we are all a little bit bamboozled? Right, because this whole year, right, Ty Johnson, he's getting a bunch of carries, and Ray Davis, he's getting a bunch of carries. Oh, maybe they like him more than James Cook. Turns out the Bills were like, James Cook's our dog. We're just gonna
Right,
save
we're
him for
just
the
saving him, like
playoffs.
we're keeping him healthy.
And
Like,
that's what you saw tonight. You saw a very healthy James Cook touch the rock 23 times,
right.
one of his
Yeah.
heavier workloads throughout the season.
Right.
Totally playing possum the entire year. Like, oh, we have a committee. Oh, we like this guy in this situation. Oh,
Yep.
we like this guy as the passing back. James Cook is a dog, and we saw it tonight. The guy looked
Yep.
fantastic. 120 yards rushing, one touchdown. And again, look at this. Look at the receiving, right? If you're watching at home, if
Love
you're
it.
looking at home,
Yeah.
you got Samuel, Shakir, Kincaid, Knox, Johnson, Hollins, Cooper, Coleman. All these guys had a catch. All of
Sure.
these guys had a catch. Do you know how many
Right.
guys it is? Silly. That's silly that all of these guys had a catch and they all balled. There's not one
Right.
guy who didn't have a good game, including Matt Collins, who's just trucking people on kickoffs. I mean, what is
Love
happening
Matt
in
Collins.
Buffalo? It's got to be one of the most intimidating
And he
things
has,
too, Big
he
Z.
has a good fit though coming in too. Every day he has a good
He's a
fit
good
going to
fit,
the
dude.
locker
And
room.
so
Yeah.
you pull into Buffalo, right? And their fans are jumping on flaming
Yeah.
tables.
Yeah.
Like, dude, if I'm going to Buffalo, I want no part of this, right? Like the
It's
Chiefs,
scary, man.
the Chiefs got to be thanking their lucky stars that they got home field advantage. But shout outs to you, Bills fans. I know.
Yeah.
Hey, we gave you your flowers all season. You have an amazing team with, in my opinion, a quarterback who's playing absolutely just the best football,
Yep.
elite in every possible category. You dominated the Broncos. Not trying to take anything away from you at the beginning of the take. Bills fans, congratulations to you. Hopefully you keep rolling. Ravens
Yes,
fans,
sir.
they're going to come give you a game, but the Bills dominate, much like the Eagles, right? The Eagles,
Oof.
it was obvious in this game.
Easy
The,
go.
the most important thing in this game, the most important thing for the Eagles, the most important thing for this entire franchise right now begins and ends with number 26, Saquon Barkley. This is your dog. This is your guy. This is the difference between last season to this season. Big Z and I have
100%.
been sitting here
Oh
spouting
yeah.
this all year long. It's not Jalen. It's not AJ Brown who's reading books. It's not Devontae Smith. It is Saquon freaking Barkley. That's your
Yeah.
dog. That's your guy. That's your Superman. That's your Iron Man. That's your Captain America. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Pick your favorite superhero. That is Saquon Barkley. Guy goes off for 119 yards. Jalen Hurts does not turn the ball over, which is extremely important for him. And AJ Brown, like I said, is reading books. Big Z, what did you take away from this game?
I mean, if I were to tell you AJ Brown gets one catch, you think they win? I mean, this is insane. Like that's how important
No,
Saquon Barkley is to
I
this team.
don't. Yep.
Jalen Hurts only threw for 131 yards, and they
They've got,
dominated.
they've got
Dominated.
to be
That just
so
shows
bad.
you. We talked about it last week. This is why we picked the Eagles in this game, is because Saquon Barkley gives them such an advantage. It just allows Jalen Hurts just to be him. Doesn't have to play beyond himself. Doesn't
Nope.
have to, force the ball and put himself into bad situations. He can just be him, and it showed. It was dominant. It was very clear that they just wanted to give Saquon the rock all game long, and he is just so good. There's nothing that the Packers could do to stop him. And this team, if they, again, this is kind of like the Ravens, I'd say, like, if you keep using the guy behind the quarterback, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, I think those two teams are really, really dangerous if they stay to that recipe. Because you can game plan all you want for Derrick Henry. You can game plan all you want for Saquon Barkley. But those dudes, they're so good that they're going to beat that game plan. Like, that's how good they are, right? And so, again, the Eagles, I think, are the most dangerous team in the NFC because of Saquon Barkley. And I'm so glad that he gets to play on such a good team and he actually gets to play in the playoffs and be successful in the playoffs.
We're seeing it. We're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley is equivalent to like a Kobe, right?
Yeah,
Like you
right.
you wanted to guard Kobe, you wanted to guard him, but you knew he was going to get his.
He's still going to beat
Right?
you.
Like there, at some
It don't
point, he's
matter.
going to get his. It doesn't matter, but you'd kind of be like, okay, we're gonna guard Kobe, but let's guard everyone else, so that
Yep.
like at some level, like even if Kobe scores 81, hopefully his team only scores like 20, maybe we can win, right? Like that's
Barely.
like that's what you got to do with Saquon
Right.
Barkley, right? Like that's the reality situation. He played so well, unlike Jordan Love, who looked awful this entire
He
game.
just looks
Just
I don't know, man. Like
I
last
just
year,
here,
the Cowboy game, he looked great. But again, against the Niners, just
but we
looked sloppy,
well, we
making bad
talked
throws.
about it, Big
Again,
Z. We
yeah,
talked about it.
yeah,
Everyone, all of a sudden, from like 6 games at the end of last season,
Yeah.
Wanted to give this kid his flowers. He's looked fine this year. I wouldn't say he's
Looked
been
all right.
amazing.
Yeah, he's
He's
looked all
been middle of
right.
the pack, right?
Average. Yeah.
He's been okay. I mean, and he has far more, like, let's talk about, he has far more weapons than Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. Far more
Oh,
weapons.
by far.
All over the
Right.
field. He's got weapons.
Right. Right.
And he looks and has looked suspect at best multiple
Yep.
times this season. I mean, Josh Jacobs doing everything he can, throwing dudes, dragging guys, doing everything he can to
Right.
will his team into this game. And it wasn't enough. And to me, this is where like Packer fans and like it is what it is, man. Packer fans pretend to like be amongst the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I don't get it. Brett Favre won one Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers won one Super Bowl. And all year long, I had to hear this take. Jordan Love's next guy. He's next Hall of Famer. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about? This guy has won nothing. And the last two guys won two Super Bowls between like 20 something years. Like
Right.
when you're talking about the elite, right? When you're talking about the GOATs, stop it. You haven't had one of those for a long, long time. Aaron Rodgers wasn't one. Brett Favre was a gunslinger. And it seems like you've wandered into the same exact situation with Jordan Love where you're going to win or die by his hand. Whether
Yeah.
it's for better or for worse, you're going to
And
win or die by his hand.
this is a team that could really benefit. Like they probably should have given Josh Jacobs 6 more carries and taken the
Yep.
ball out of Jordan Love's hands on those
Yep.
6 times, right? Like I think it would have
Yeah.
balanced the game. It would have kept the ball out of Saquon's hands on the other side. And like you're not giving the ball away. You literally gave it away 3 times on the road. We talked about it with Justin Herbert. But this is a great team in the Eagles. Like it's not the Texans. You got a ruckus crowd who thinks that this team is going to win the Super Bowl, right? Like you are just giving them more and more life. That's one of the hardest places to play, Lincoln Financial Field. And then you're just breathing life into that whole team, just giving them confidence that they're, like you said, AJ Brown is on the side reading a book because he knows that his team is going to win the game. Like this, like if you're the Packers, you seriously have to consider like re-signing Josh Jacobs because I think it's only a 1-year deal.
Yep.
And but you got to figure out how are we going to game plan again around him. Like Jordan Love is not your guy. Like he may be your franchise QB, but like he's not the guy who's going to win you games. Right now, he's the guy who loses you games. And it's been 2 years in a row where he has thrown picks to lose the game. So you got to figure out something if you're Matt LaFleur. It's great in the regular season, but this is the Packers. Like this is another plethora of teams. Like this is one of the best franchises that's ever existed in the NFL. And you cannot have that mediocre play at quarterback in the playoffs anymore.
And you know, when I said that last year, Big Z, I was a jerk. Right? We got hated on so much. Like Jordan Love had a fantastic game. How are you only going to remember his last interception? Because that's what he does. That's what he does. Time and time again, he's shown you. You put the ball in his hands to win the game.
Yep.
And it's a big game. I'm not talking about normal games, right? Somebody's like, well, they beat the Bears when the last final drive back in week 8. I'm talking about big games. I'm talking about playoff wins. He's going to fold. He's going to fold up shop. That's what I've seen. Hopefully for your sake, Packer fans, he proves me wrong, and I'll give you a big fat apology next year. But I doubt it because usually we're right.
It's 2 years in a row. It's 2 years in a row now. There's a little.
You know what else 2 years in a row, Big Z?
Little trend here.
You know what else 2 years in a row?
What?
2 years in a row, Big Z and I have told you who the best quarterback coming out of the draft is. Big Z and I sat here when everyone else looked at you and said, no. Bryce Young is going to be the best quarterback to come. And we're talking about last year, right? Bryce, we're not talking about this year after he sat out for multiple. Don't forget, Bryce Young got benched. Okay, so that whole argument. He's better. Like, relax. Stroud never got benched. Bryce Young has gotten benched. Period. But this is not the point right now. The point is, we sat here and told you. Well, everybody else looked at you. All the experts, all the analysts, Stephen A. Smith, all these dudes sat here and told you Bryce Young is the next dude. Mel Kiper. Bryce Young is the next dude. And then this year, Caleb Williams is the dude. Caleb Williams is the guy. And Big Z and I sat here on lowly Brevity Sports and said, I think CJ Stroud is better. He's more ready than Bryce Young. And he was. Okay, we're talking about first year. He was. Fact.
Yep.
He was. Fact. It's not up for argument. This year, Jaden Daniels is more ready. Fact. Not up for argument. And I'm not here for Caleb Williams had no support. All we heard about before this year was that this was Caleb Williams' perfect situation. Keenan Allen coming off his best year ever. DJ Moore coming off his best year ever. DeAndre Swift coming off His best year ever, right? All that's all we heard about, and this is going to be amazing. And they have this incredible defense and all the things. And what is Jaden Daniels have? McLaurin, right? McLaurin. That's
Yeah.
it. Oh well, yeah, one of those receivers we always thought was good. Maybe he could be good, but we haven't really seen him be that guy. And here they are, the Commanders 12-5. They just went into Tampa Bay, who's a very talented team, with a great quarterback, playing out of his mind, and they get the W. Jaden Daniels, we told you again and again and again. Jaden Daniels, the best quarterback in this class. And again, the Brevity Boys were here for you. We were right. Manders fans, congratulations. We are so excited for you.
So
You got that
excited.
W.
I love it. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams must be pissed. and,
He's
and
got to be
all the
so mad.
guys, Nick Wright, talking about uh the Bears winning the NFC championship game and going to the Super Bowl this year, like, preseason predictions, like all those guys that run Caleb Williams are
Yep.
fuming,
Yep.
fuming right now. So we love it. We were right. What I love tonight about the Commanders is that they controlled the narrative in that game. When you look at the Tampa Bay Bucks side of the ball, Baker Mayfield only threw the ball 18 times.
Yep.
He was efficient, 15 of 18. He had a pretty good game, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah.
But they kept the ball out of his hands for the most part. Like, he wasn't slinging that. And when Baker isn't slinging, you're probably not going to win that game
Nope.
because you don't have the ball as long as the other team does, right? And the Commanders were able to hold on to the ball longer, and they were there at the end of the game to doink in the game-winning field goal and to win their first playoff game since 2005. I mean, just the poise that Jaden Daniels had tonight was so impressive. And you can look at the games that he played in college. He played for LSU, guys. Remember, he started ASU, but he went over to LSU in one of the
Yep.
biggest stadiums, most in the SEC, in some of the most ruckus stadiums in the
Yep.
country, even more ruckus than NFL stadiums. And he learned how to manage games. He's able to silence the crowd in his head and just focus on the play in front of him, right? He's able to read a defense. He's able to check out of different plays, audible plays, give it to his running back, whatever that is. And he's confident. Like, he doesn't care if he throws a bad pass. You can see he just brushes it off and he goes to the next down and he delivers. And some of the passes he made were just incredible. And I just have to give him so much credit. Like, I love it. I love Dan Quinn, the way that he just has faith in his quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury, as an offensive coordinator, a failed coach in the league,
Yep.
looks so good at play calling. And I just love that they're able just to give him so much confidence,
Yep.
and he's just able to deliver a W for them. And he is that guy. He totally is that guy, and I'm really happy for him. He's a special player. Like, he's kind of like a mixture of Lamar Jackson, yet just has like a gunslinging arm of like Josh Allen. Like, I feel like he's kind of like a mix of those two. Like, he's just that talented.
Yep.
And I just hope he stays on this track because I can't wait to see how his career unfolds. It's so good. Going in on the road, first career playoff game. Insane.
Huge.
Insane.
Huge. Baker Mayfield is the exact opposite to me of the Lamar Jackson and the Ravens situation, right? Like, coming into this, we wanted the Ravens to run the ball. Coming into this, I was like, Bucks, you got to throw the ball. Bucky Irving's great. Bucky Irving is great out in the flat, right? Like that, throw him a screen pass, electric, right? You cannot take the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hands, man.
No.
Like, it's a mistake, and you paid the price. But again, it took Jaden Daniels taking advantage of it. 268 yards passing, 2 tutties, 36 yards rushing. The dude looked fantastic. Again, trusting his guy in McLaurin. I mean, he looked absolutely fantastic.
If week 1, these two teams played each other, the exact same scenario in Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers won 37-20. The biggest difference that game, Baker Mayfield threw the ball 30 times. Tonight, he only threw the ball 18 times.
You got to give him a chance.
There you
got
go.
to give him a chance.
Yeah, and just
we
love Baker. And like, Baker played a really good game.
But how can you not? How could you watch this game? I mean, you're watching this dude truck linebackers and safeties.
I know.
Like, he wanted this so bad.
Like, he's their quarterback. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
No.
He played so efficiently. He didn't turn the ball over. His heart and soul is being poured onto the field for this team, right? He wants to win so bad. You can just tell. But
Yep.
again, I just don't on the defensive side of the ball, they just weren't able to stop the Commanders. I think it comes down to that. Like you got to
You
figure
you
that out.
had you had two talented teams, and one of the teams turned the ball over and the other didn't. That's
Exactly.
what this came down to. One of the teams turned the ball over, the other didn't.
Fumble.
And
Yep.
Doink means the W. Speaking of W's,
Mm,
next week, Big Z. Let's talk about
mm.
it, right? Next week,
Yes.
we've moved past the wild card. Now we're on to the divisional round.
Yeah.
Big games coming up. We got the Texans going to the Chiefs. Again, this is a Texans team to me that is still reeling, and they just got dominated by the Chiefs, right? They just went to this stadium. Tank Dell leaves on a horrific injury.
Yeah.
If you're the Texans, you got to find some life somewhere. If you're the coach of the Texans, you got to sit your boys down. You got to rally the troops. You got to show them like show them the miracle on ice. Like, you got to show them something. Like, you got to give them a speech. Look, if we play this team 10 times, they might win 9, but not tonight.
Right.
Tonight, we're the greatest team on the planet. Like, that is the kind of speech you got to give them, because the Chiefs are better than you. Top to
Yeah.
bottom, the Chiefs are a better team than you are. No one's going to argue that. You look at the
Yeah.
rosters, top to bottom, the Chiefs are better. So the
Right.
Texans, you got to come into this just rambunctious, do whatever you got to do, go Dan Quinn on them, right? Like, just do
Right.
something. Dan Campbell, bite some kneecaps, right? You got to
Nice
do
some kneecaps
something.
off, baby. That's
You
right.
got you got to channel your inner dog, because this is a game to me that could get ugly. Big Z, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is a game that I think this game is going to be decided in the first quarter. If the
Yeah,
Texans score on their first drive, I have confidence in them that they can keep that up for the rest of the game. But if they come out flat the way they did against the Chargers, like Patrick Mahomes ain't throwing you four interceptions,
nope,
man.
nope.
Like they're gonna take advantage of that. They're gonna score touchdowns on all those four interceptions, right? So you got to take advantage. If you win the kickoff, I say receive and you go and score. You put
Yes,
the pressure on the Chiefs to win this game.
yes.
If the Texans come out flat, if they don't score on their first possession, it's over. I think the Chiefs win by 2+ touchdowns. You got to set the tone early, and CJ Stroud has to revert back to last season CJ Stroud, and he has to be a dog. That's it.
You got to pray that Joe Mixon has the best game since week 14.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need Joe Mixon. If you're a Texas fan, you need Joe Mixon to win this game.
right, yeah,
Period. Like,
right.
CJ Stroud and Joe Mixon. CJ Stroud has to revert. Joe Mixon has to ball. That's the only way forward. Because
That's it, man.
the Chiefs are proven. We can hate on them. Look, as fans, we can all hate on them. And I'm here for you. I agree. I think some of
Right,
the calls they get are absolutely egregious. It's like,
right.
what you haven't called that all game. Like, what are you looking at? Like, I'm there for you. I'm just saying they're still the king.
They're
They're
15 and
still the
2.
king.
Yeah.
You know,
And
this year, look at
you got to take that throne or that
take it.
that crown away. Like they're not going to give it to you, right? Like you got to snatch it off their head.
You gotta take it.
And that's it. That's how you're going to take it.
You gotta take it. You gotta take it like Nick Wright just takes all those bad takes that he comes up with out of nowhere.
Gosh.
You just go in there, take it,
I mean,
right?
he's
Wherever
worse
he
than
takes
Colin.
those bad
Worse than
takes,
Colin.
he's
It has to be worse than
far
Colin.
worse than Colin. Colin has had a nice bounce back. Nick Wright, every time I hear him talk, like especially the Caleb Williams thing, I was like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, and
Yeah,
that was there. He was like, oh, they're gonna win everything. And we're sitting here like, dude, Caleb Williams, if you're the Bears, like, you try to shoot for 500. Like,
Yeah,
500.
I know, dude. Come on, man. Like
Like, what are you
you
doing?
skip
Like,
500, you skip the playoffs.
you skip all that. You're like,
You
they're
skip one playoff
going
one. You said, "Oh no, they're going to the Super Bowl." Like,
Super
really?
Bowl. Like, that's
Really?
crazy. That's crazy.
Really?
That's
All
too
right.
much. That's too
Awesome.
much. Look, at the end of the day, Texans, you gotta you gotta find a way.
I mean,
Okay?
I'm going Chiefs in this game,
Yeah,
but that's the recipe for success. If you're the Texans, you got to score. You got to go out and score the first
yeah.
drive, or else it's done.
No,
It's done.
we're both going
Yeah, but
Chiefs
I'm
on
going
this
Chiefs.
one.
I'm going
We're
Chiefs.
both going Chiefs. We got Bills, Ravens. This to me is the
This is a
game
tough one.
to watch. This is
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
extremely difficult. I'm gonna tell you, look, if you're the Ravens, do not let this be a high scoring affair. You do not want this to be like 35-42, because I think you lose that game. I think this game, if you're the Ravens, you want it to be somewhere around like 21-14, 28-21 max. But the way the Bills are moving the ball down the field, Josh Allen just has so many weapons. He's throwing the ball freely. James Cook looks fantastic. If you're the Ravens, you've got to stick to the game plan. And I actually agree, Big Z, with you about the Texans. Same thing for me here. If you're the
Yeah.
Ravens and you win the coin toss, take the ball.
Yeah.
Take the ball, get
There you go.
ahead, stay
Make
ahead.
them nervous. Make the fans
Control the
nervous.
flow. King Henry, just a 10-minute drive. Like
Right.
that'll kill the Bills. That will absolutely kill the Bills. Give it to King Henry. Let him run the ball down their throats. Eat the clock. Eat the clock. I do like the Bills in this one just because they're at home, but this is going to be a great game, Big Z.
I mean, Bills Mafia is kind of like Dodger fans in the past, like us, like going to a playoff game. Like you expect your team to win, but there's still that huge fear of losing. Like you've blown it
Oh yeah,
so many times, right? And so that's what the Ravens have to go into it. Like, dude, this team, these fans have some doubt in
yeah.
this team. No matter how good they've been in the regular season, doesn't matter that we have home field advantage. If we get on, if we score early and we get on top of this team, you're going to hear the moaning, the groaning. You are going to hear a pin drop in that stadium. And you're exactly right. That's exactly what they have to do defensively for the Ravens. You got to put a spy on Josh Allen. Like you can't let him run. Don't blitz him, but you have to put a spy on him so he doesn't go scramble. If you take that away, I think they win the game on defense. And on offense, you just have to keep using King Henry. That's the recipe. You found your recipe for success. That's going to get you the W. But if you take away Josh Allen's legs by putting a spy on him and then putting everyone else out in coverage and covering everyone else on the wide receivers, I think that's a recipe for success for them. I think they win. So I'm going to take Ravens. I'm going to take Ravens.
Look no further than when you beat them earlier this season, right? The Ravens
Right.
won this game in Baltimore. What happened? Lamar Jackson threw the ball 18 times. Again, this
Right.
is the exact opposite of what we were calling for with Tampa Bay. Derrick Henry carried the ball 24 times for
Exactly.
199 yards.
Yes. Yes.
This is your game plan. Let King Henry dominate the game. I could totally see the Ravens winning this game if that is the game plan. You've got to let Derrick Henry take this game over. If you're a
Yep.
Ravens fan, that's what you need to see. In an equally difficult matchup for a team, the Commanders, the underdog story
Yeah. The lie.
continues.
Oof.
Cinderella, they're going to take on the Lions. And really,
Yeah.
like David
It's gonna be
Goliath, the
tough.
thing that, Dan Campbell's been speaking of, like, it's opposite, right? Like the Commanders are the clear-cut underdog. And I saw a video that's gone pretty viral recently. Somebody sent it to me. And it shows Dan Campbell talking about at the start of the season, you know, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fight them
Right.
and we're gonna drag them into deep water, and we're gonna last longer, right? We're gonna
Yeah.
dig deeper. We're gonna drag them in, and we're gonna drown the teams we play. We're gonna get them to deep water, and they're gonna find they don't have what it takes to compete with us. And it don't matter where they
Right.
play, right? He goes on this whole speech about it doesn't matter. We can play in the snow. We can play wherever. Play wherever
Yep.
you want to play.
Yeah.
This is a Lions team that's hungry. If you're the Manders, okay, and this is going to be a theme throughout. I'm not even lying. This is a theme throughout. If you're the Manders, you got to get the ball. You got to get the ball and you got to score. Okay, if
Yeah.
if you go down 14-0, this thing is over. If you go down to 7-0, you're in trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. You're the Manders. You got to stay. You got to stay close to this thing. I, it would be tough to not pick against. It's tough to not pick the Lions, Big Z. What do you think?
Right. I mean, traditionally, when there's a team on a bye, you're like traditionally they come out flat, right? But I think
Right.
that Dan Campbell's the type of coach to keep
Yep.
his team right on point. Like he's not
Yep.
going to let him go to sleep. And I 100% agree with you. I think this is going to be tough. I think that the Lions having a week off really benefits them because they were so injured, and David Montgomery is going to be back. And
Yeah.
so you got that Sonic and Knuckles type thing again going on with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery coming back. And it's just going to be tough. There's just so many weapons. Like you're talking about tonight, like you squeaked by on the road, right? With against a Bucks team that has Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield, but you got so many more weapons on the Lions. You're playing in Detroit. It's the loudest stadium in the NFL. I can't see a universe in where the Commanders win this game. I
Yeah, this
just
is
don't.
this
Even
is
if they
tough.
come out and they get the ball and they score, I don't think that rattles the Lions. Like this is the one
No, you
team
got to
that I don't
stop
think
them.
that
No, no,
rattles.
no. This you got to stop them. You have to
You
stop them.
have
Like you
to.
got to score
Yeah.
7 and then stop them and then go up 14.
Yeah,
And
you
even
have to
then,
go up 14,
if
17,
if
maybe.
you're the Manders, bottom line, you have to score every drive.
Right.
And the first two got to be touchdowns. You cannot settle for field goals. You got to get
Right.
up 14, two touchdowns, and then just keep scoring. If you stop scoring, they're gonna beat you. So
Yeah.
Mariners fans, enjoy your one win, dude. You guys sucked last year, right? You were terrible.
I
Right?
mean,
You had
they've
like
sucked for
5 wins.
so long. Like
You had
there's been
Enjoy.
no hope for that
Look,
franchise in so long. And
regardless if the
now you got it.
Mariners, I'm not trying to be, pessimist, but if the Mariners lose, you guys went 12-5 and you won a playoff game.
Right.
Like it was a great year. Good job. Like hold on
Yeah.
to that. Hold on
Heck
to
yeah.
this feeling.
And you
Hold
got a
on to this
franchise
feeling.
quarterback. You have a
Yeah,
quarterback that you can build around. Like,
100%.
and that's what so many teams are looking for every single year. They're searching for, and it's the same teams, right? And the Manders were in on that, and that they're not on that list anymore. Like
Yep.
you found your guy. Like you're good
I
now. Go build around him because he's on that cheap rookie deal. You can go
right.
build a great offense around him. Like
I
they're good, man. Like, even if they lose, like hold your head high. Hold your
if you're the
head high.
Manders, I think you got to take a page. I'll finish with this. You got to take a page from the Lions. You have your own Sonic and Knuckles and Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
You have them both on the field as much as possible and run that option, right? Either I'm going to feed it out here real quickly or I'm going to McLaurin. Just, just
Right.
find a way. All right, find a way to compete. The
We're gonna
Rams,
look bad. We're gonna look real bad. It's like a
if the
Mariners
Manders
win.
dominate, we've looked bad before. Alabama made us look bad. The Broncos
The
made us look
Chargers made us
bad.
look bad.
The
Yeah, I
Broncos
mean,
made
yeah,
us
it's
look bad
fine.
for a second. The
Yeah,
Chargers made us look awful. I mean, shout out to you, Charger
yeah,
fans. You did it. Like, if your goal when you win this playoff game, like, hey, here's the plan. We're going to make the Brevity Boys look super stupid. Mission accomplished
you
because we
did
believed in you.
it.
Well done.
Yep.
Real well done. The Rams are playing the Vikings tomorrow, Big Z. To me, as a Rams fan, all right, I think we got a shot. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think you're looking at two very high-powered offenses. I really don't see how this isn't a fun game, and I think it's going to come down to the weapons, man. It's you
Yeah.
got everything in this game. You got Aaron Jones on this side with Justin Jefferson, and then you got Puka Nacua on this side with Kyron Williams. The one hope that I have as a Rams fan, which might be some
Yeah.
delusion, is I think the Lions just gave you the blueprint, right? Even if maybe
Right.
you leave somebody open for 2 seconds, bring pressure to Darnold, and he's going to fold up shop, right? But
I
if
think
you're the
so.
Vikings, hey, you've had a great season. You have great weapons. For me personally, I'm a homer. I'm taking the Rams.
I'm going Rams too. I think there's a lot more than just a game that they're playing for right now. You got a lot of the wildfires in LA. The game
Yep.
had to be moved.
Yeah.
So they're playing. I mean, Chargers had that too, but you're playing for your community now, right?
Yeah.
You're playing for your city.
Yeah.
And I think they're going into that with just that burden on their back, and like they want to carry that, right? And so I think they're ready. Sean McVay always has his guys ready. People always overlook the Rams because they always start the season so slow, but they always
Yep.
finish so strong. And when you have a team finishing strong and going to the playoffs on a win streak, like that's really dangerous, right? And so I think 100% I'm taking the Rams. If you're on the flip side, you're Sam Darnold. This is the biggest game of your career. Like this is
Hands
a
down.
game that where you can shut up guys like me. People say, you know what, like this season really wasn't you. It was a result of having Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Kevin O'Connell,
Right.
a great play caller.
Yep.
This is your chance to prove that it was the Jets that were it was the weak point. Right? They were terrible. They failed you. It wasn't you failing them. They failed you. The Panthers failed you, right?
Right.
And so this is your chance to shut up all the haters, all the noise, and go win your first ever playoff game, right? But I'm taking the Rams. I just think you're right. I think that the Lions, they give them the recipe for success, and we'll see. But Sean McVay is a smart guy, and he'll pick up on that stuff. So I'm excited to see how Sam Darnold comes out tomorrow night.
Guys like Jared Verse are just going to feast in this game. When they played
Yeah,
earlier, the Rams beat them 30 to
they
20.
did.
Matt
Yeah,
Stafford absolutely went off, and we've only gotten better since then. I mean, we beat them early in the year when the Rams were trying to, like, at the time they were 3-4, right? So the Rams were
right.
trying to turn around their year, and as the years gone on, the Rams got stronger, not weaker. I like the Rams, so I'm taking the Rams. As I'm taking the Rams, that means they're going to play the Eagles next week. If you're the Rams and you
Oh
win this
man.
game, this is where you actually need to go score, right? You got to take the ball, you got to score. Here's the only blueprint that I have to beating the Eagles, and this is for everybody. The blueprint I have for beating the Eagles is you've got to make the Eagles put it into Jalen Hurts' hand.
Yeah, you have to
The
make it turn it over.
weakness of this Eagles is Jalen Hurts to me, right?
Yeah,
If they are up they can just rely on Saquon Barkley. It's sort of similar to me. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a hater take. It's sort of similar to me to the Lions, right? If you can make Jared Goff have to beat you versus Jameer Gibbs and Montgomery, all of a sudden it becomes a game. And that's the same thing right here with Hurts to me. If you could make Hurts have to beat you, not
Right.
Saquon, all of a sudden now you're in with a shot. If
Right.
Hurts is allowed to just hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley and throw the ball 15 times, you're gonna lose. You're gonna
Yeah, but
lose. It is what it is.
for that to happen, you got to go up 2 scores
Yeah.
because if you're down
Yep.
1 score,
Nope. No
Eagles
big
at
deal.
home, I'm still
No big
giving you
deal.
Saquon.
Yep.
you know,
100%.
so you gotta figure out how to stop on that first drive. You got to score on your first couple drives. You got to
Yep.
go up those 2 scores.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's the great recipe for success right there is you got to put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hand and let him lose the game.
And if
Right,
we're
let
both
him give you
right,
the game.
and if we're both wrong, and the Vikings go play the Eagles, the Vikings are going to lose. The Eagles will handily beat them. I have no doubt in that. Like
I
I
don't know.
look,
We'll see. It depends. If the Vikings win tomorrow night, it's because Sam Darnold had a good game, I think.
that's fair.
And the Vikings have I think, a top 3 defense in the NFL, in my
The
opinion. I think
problem.
that they do have a better defense than the Rams
Oh,
defense.
100%.
And
100%.
so I think they're more capable of stopping Saquon than the Rams would be.
Right.
I think that the Rams only win if they score 38 plus points.
Yep.
I think the
That's what it
Vikings
has
can
to be.
win scoring 28 points
That's what it
because
has
of
to
the
be.
defense.
It
Yeah.
has to be that. But my
Right.
issue is that the Eagles are going to get pressure. The Eagles are going to get to Sam Darnold. They're going to get
Yeah.
to him
Yeah.
again and
Yeah.
again and
100%.
again. And that's going to be the issue for the Vikings. I think the Vikings defense is great.
Yeah.
Again, I just think it. My belief in the Rams beating the Vikings has more to do with our weapons. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Those are
Yeah.
two who still. I know Cooper Kupp did not have a great end of the year, but he is still one of the best receivers in the NFL. So I'm taking the Rams. But again,
Yeah.
if the Vikings play the Eagles, the Eagles are so good defensively. They're so good. I mean,
They are. Yeah.
offensively, they didn't even click tonight, right?
Right.
Saquon had a great game, but offensively, they didn't click, and it didn't matter. Their
Nope.
defense was still dogs. They still
Yep.
balled.
Yep.
Wrapping it up, Big Z, NCAA football, Natty on the line, the big old Natty, Notre Dame versus Ohio State, no
Yeah.
SEC team in sight, right? Big Ten, we
Wow.
talked about it. These are two big
Sure. People
conferences.
people love it. An independent and a Big Ten. Um, I still can't believe college football is still going. To be honest, it's pretty
It's
crazy to
weird.
me, like how long this season has gone.
It's weird.
But I love it. I love college football. I think that you first off, like I think you have 2 great storylines here. Like Notre
Yeah.
Dame, I think that Marcus Freeman, he's gained so much respect in like the head coaching circles, both in the NFL and in college football. A lot of people, when he was hired, like, who is this guy? But like this guy is a top tier coach. And I heard the Bears are trying to interview him. I think that he'd be a great coach on the Bears. Um, and secondly, Ryan Day, man, this guy, I think beating Michigan is what he needed to wake himself up, to wake up his play calling, to wake up his best players on his offense and get the ball rolling because this guy didn't have a job. If he lost the first round of the playoffs, he would have
Nope.
been ousted, right? And now
Yep.
he's playing for a national championship game. And man, would it be? He would be so happy to be hoisting that trophy if they win that national championship game. And look, his haters are just what are they gonna say? What are you gonna say now, right? And it's I love that. I love the underdog because both those guys in both those programs, even though they're like big blue bloods, like they're a namestay in college football. They've been underdogs for a long time. That just a lot of people really hoop on them every single year because they never come through in the big moments. And now they're both in the national championship. And so I think it's great. I think it's great for college football that there is no SEC team in the national championship game. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm going. Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to Ohio State. On a whim. I think 24-20.
I'm not going on Ohio State on a whim. I'm going Ohio State because they are playing a different brand of football than they've played
Yeah,
all year long. They have
right.
looked fine at times. They've looked good at times, but what they've done to teams like Tennessee and to Oregon,
Yeah,
42-17,
yeah. That's
41-21,
huge.
beating Texas handedly, even though
Right.
Texas played a really good game. a
Yeah.
really good game, right? It was obvious there were just two really good teams, and they
Yeah.
still come out by two scores. Ohio State wins this game. Ryan Day has saved his job, much to Shannon Sharp's chagrin, as he calls out multiple analysts for calling him out for calling for the firing of Ryan Day. It's going to be tough to fire him when he wins a natty. Big
Yes,
Z,
sir.
this has been fun. Say bye to the people.
People, hope you guys enjoyed Wild Card Weekend because it was certainly wild. Hope you guys have a great week ahead. And the national championship game is not this week; it is the following week. So I guess we can talk about it next
Which is
week again.
crazy. Which is
Preview. I know
crazy.
they get a long break. Um, but yeah, you stay safe, guys. Enjoy it. This will be up. Thank you again for all your support. We're getting more and more subscribers, more likes, more comments. We appreciate it. Have a good week.
Have a great week, great weekend, wherever you're listening. Thank you so much. Hit that follow button, hit that like button. Tell your friends we are Brevity Sports. Take it easy, and thank you for listening.
Boom.